when you're going across the floor in center, don't try to close your eyes then. But at safe moments in class, close your eyes and feel the movement and enjoy those sensations in your body.
Yeah. I love embodiment as a tool. It's one of my favorites, and it was one of the most life-changing that I ever came across when, same as you, like when I first like learned about the world of coaching, and I was like, oh, what is this thing? This is fascinating. Okay. And like got sucked in and learned so much, and it was incredible, and it's continuing to be incredible. And I know that I'll always be involved in some way, receiving it as well as also obviously coaching. But I always find it so interesting how many dancers have experienced disembodiment, because there's this outside assumption that because you're a dancer, you have a really good connection with your body, because like that's your thing. And I just remind people, like, I use my body as a tool, as an instrument, as something to manipulate, as something to create these shapes with, or like do things for me, instead of understanding that my body is me, like that is me. And so if I don't take care of that, I'm not taking care of anything else that I think I'm working towards in the future. And I know this is somewhere that both of us probably have our like core passion, which is health before dance outcomes. So maybe we can riff on this a little bit here, because like it's still, I'm still surprised that it's like taboo in some places to have it in this order. I mean, it still surprises me, but at the same time it doesn't. And there's no judgment, because I was there, like that was me. I thought like that. I had that same mindset of the dance goal is the most important thing. Human beings, we're here to serve dance, whatever that is. And then you start to question, well, who decided what dance is the dance, and who decided that I have to do it this way and it has to be in this order? So I'm really curious, Jess, to like hear your thoughts on this, either from like your personal perspective on like how did that shift for you to bringing health more into the center, and obviously I'm assuming your training and all of that must have been part of that, or how you see this like on the meta in the dance world.
Yeah. So with my personal experience, and I do think this is true for a lot of young dancers, I remember having thoughts when I wasn't getting a period. I mean, that this is probably not healthy for me. At the time, there is this very disordered relationship to that. And I know this is true for a lot of young dancers, where not getting a period for me at that time signaled I'm doing something right, because this means I've like lost enough weight, I've lost enough body fat that, my body's not producing, it's not menstruating regularly. Like that's a good sign. At the same time, I would have thoughts like, oh, like I do want to have kids eventually. Like, is this going to have an impact on that? Like, am I messing up my potential to have children and that kind of thing, which like I didn't even think about at the time, like the impact on my bone health and bone density, which is perhaps even a bigger consideration that dancers should think about when they're not having a period. But I would say to myself, I'll figure that out like in the future, if like when I'm trying to go down that road. And I would also say huge and scary things to myself, like, well, like this is more important, if that's not supposed to happen, then fine, it's not supposed to happen. Like I would really like, that's a huge life thing. But at that age, this was early 20s. And so dancers have these thoughts younger as well. And I think a lot of us have those thoughts into their 20s. You are doing whatever for dance. Like, this is what I have to do to succeed in dance. And it comes from the discipline conversation. It comes from the suffering conversation. It comes from the pain tolerance conversation. It comes from the teachers who say, if you want to succeed, you should be smaller. Dancers can't eat cake, like all these things. It's all in there. And I think that it's hard because those young people, like at that age, the whole consequences, like your brain doesn't actually consider consequences fully yet, right? So it's like, they say even, 18, you're considered an adult in the US, right? But they say probably it should be more like 25, because your brain can't fully consider all the consequences of your choices and actions yet. So I think it's all tied into that. It all goes together.
Yeah. So when we flip it then, when you work with people and you allow them, you give them permission to start putting their health minimum level, but I'm assuming before dance, because I want to like draw out here that this opposition between looking after ourselves, putting our health first, as a versus dance success, that model was just broken from the absolute beginning. And so I'd love to hear from you if you would care to share any stories that you know of, either friends or people that you've worked with, where actually they both have good outcomes when you put your health first.
I mean, I've had clients who have gone on to dance with the biggest companies in the States, and or who have like come to me at the start where they're already dancing with one of those top companies in the US. And, they've like just gotten their corps de ballet contract, right? But they're struggling partly because they're getting feedback about their bodies. It's not always the case, but for some of them, it's completely a self-imposed thing. But some are getting feedback. Like the ballet mistress says to me, oh, like you really need to do something about this. I'm just telling you because I've seen it derail careers. Like that's not a small statement, right? But they like say it in the hushed tones at the side of the studio during a rehearsal. And so sometimes when dancers come to me, they're like, I just have to lose weight. I just have to be smaller. My body just has to be different. And I say, I get it. Like, I totally understand that feeling. And that's what I felt. And I totally understand that. Are you going to do your best dancing? Is your career going to go as far as it can if you get injured this year? If you get injured repeatedly? If you can't get through rehearsal? If your brain's not retaining choreography because you can't maintain focus because you're not eating enough? Like, we have to have those conversations where it's like, this is what the impact is going to be of not prioritizing your health. Like, do you see that being a successful career? And I'll be like, no. Like they think about it. I'm like, no. I was like, okay. So like, we're going to try something different where we work on creating a balanced life for you, where food is something that you enjoy and that is, again, worked or observed and utilized for your body and dancing in a balanced way where, yes, it's fuel, but yes, it brings you joy, and there's nutrient dense things and there's things that are pure fun. Like, we'll find that balance with the food and build a confident and resilient body image. And so that even if you face these experiences where someone says something directly or indirectly and that has an impact on you, you can work through it and then continue to bring your focus back to the dancing. Like, that's where you'll achieve the greatest level of success. And I've had some dancers where, and I love this, like I start working with them when they're 16 or 17 in a pre-professional training program. And, they just keep going on a very positive trajectory. And like, sometimes we have conversations where it's like, I have this lead role, but I'm like so nervous about it. And I just second guess myself all the time. And like, you have to have conversations through those experiences sometimes, because otherwise